On this episode of Purposely Curious, we sit down and answer some of your questions over some delicious cocktail drinks in our first Cocktail Q&A. We answer questions such as, what was your earliest memory, and do you believe in the paranormal? Join us as we get nicely buzzed and totally uncensored as this episode starts now. Hello, Leonie. How are you?
Greetings, Mary. I am doing great. How about yourself? How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing really great. I love every time you say greetings, Mary. It sounds like you're from out of this world.
Oh, baby, I'm out of this world, all right. It's like, greetings, Earthling.
Right?
That's going to be my next one.
Yeah, I don't know why I always picture that. Some kind of like UFO stuff.
Yeah, right.
My sound effects.
Yeah, because the aliens would say, greetings, Earthling, when they do arrive, you know?
Yeah. So how is this quarantine treating you this past week?
It's good. It's been busy. It's been really busy, really, really super busy. Just been, my God, just had a bunch of guests from my other podcast and just, keeping busy with a lot of computer work and meetings, actually. Trying to find time to, do some fun stuff here. I hurt my hand like a week ago and I haven't healed yet, so it's really annoying because there's a couple things that I want to do that I can't. I'm like, I'm so annoyed,
How did you burn it?
Well, the first time in 20 years, I fell. Can you believe it? I fell. And lucky for me, like my reflexes kicked in, and like instead of hitting the gravel, dirt, concrete face first, like I put my arm in the way, my hand in the way, and I kind of broke the fall a little bit, but it's like, damn it, those reflexes from playing sports many years ago, it's like, luckily kicked in. I was like, oh man, like for a second I was thinking, did I break anything? Because it's like, the weird thing is I actually saw myself falling slowly, like in slow motion.
Really?
Yeah, like in my mind I was thinking, oh, hey, I'm going down, and then I was like, damn. I was like, what happened?
I'm going down.
Yeah.
Oh Lord.
But yeah, I smashed my hand, so I can't play guitar.
Aww.
It's really hurts. So it's like it's healing. It's fine. But yeah, that's about it. How about yourself? What's going on with you?
Nothing really. I've gotten kind of into a routine with the whole work situation. Still a little weird at work. We're getting more. Not going like too much details, but it's more prevalent now, the COVID diagnosis for our demographic of patients.
Yeah.
So, but I feel like I'm coping with it a lot better. So I'm just hoping that, I'll be okay in the long run.
Yeah, you will.
Yeah.
You will, because, you're informed, you're protected, you're careful, and you just gotta...
Trying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you gotta just do that, day in, day out. It's kind of like robotic reflex, when you get home, and then you do your routine and clean up and you're good,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is exactly what I do when I get home.
Yeah, that's good.
Total routine, like desanitize.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yes, so I did want to go over something about our episode on not being Latino enough.
Oh, wow, that keeps coming up, huh?
It does, yes. So I had someone by the name of Michael basically share that him and his partner, what he said was, my partner and I had literally a discussion the day before about whether or not I was a Chicano or not. She said I probably wasn't, but I'm of Mexican descent and brown and with Chicano family members. So your episode was fun to listen for me. Thank you for that. But I guess on his mother's side, it's a Polish culture.
Oh.
So I thought that was really nice. So it's, it's like, for me, it was not being Latino enough in the sense that I was born in America. Well, not in America, because my cousins corrected me. America is North and South America, right? Being born in the United States and not feeling like, I'm Latino enough. And so it's nice to see people who have different cultures.
Right.
Having the same kind of experience where you're not sure where you fit in.
Yeah, it's interesting. No, it's great because it's like, I think that's a topic of conversation because you often see it in there's parody videos and stuff. It's like about being, Latino or this or that, or what makes you one, whatever. But there's just so much discussion to be had about, about like we discussed about, what
Mm-hmm.
what our names are,
Yeah.
our surnames, what what our
Mm.
culture is, where we come from, do we speak the language, do we know the culture, do we know the history, and it's like, bits and pieces of those make us who we are, and you know
Yeah.
it's just so important to always remember where you come from,
Mm-hmm.
even if you don't do anything with it, even if you don't speak the language or anything. It's like, it's just important to always know that way you can tell your kids, and they can know the history of where you come from, and because they'll read about it in some book in school, but it's like they're not going to get the information as to what your parents and grandparents, what they lived through and what the conditions were, and
Yeah. Yeah. So, that thank you, Michael, for that message. So I like when I get those messages of people relating to an episode because it inspires me to keep this going.
right.
I don't have a rhyme of I'm just doing my weird whatever comes to my brain kind of, and I appreciate you, Leonie, for coming along on this
Me,
ride with
me,
the whole
why
quarantine.
me, why me, why?
Because you're filling in, this whole social distancing, you're filling in that second person for me to talk to.
Yeah,
But I appreciate, those messages. So I just know that I appreciate whoever listens to me, those messages that people send and how they relate it to, because it makes me feel like I'm doing something right. Um,
yeah, you
but
definitely
yeah,
are.
yeah. And I wanted to touch on one more thing from the last episode,
Mm-hmm.
which was for those who listened to it, was the Lori Vallow Doomsday Coat Mom.
Mm.
We talked about her brother who died, and they were her brother who was like the hitman, is what I call him,
Right,
who
right.
died. They released the toxicology and death report, and they said that he did die of natural causes. Basically, he had a like pulmonary embolism, which is a blood clot in the lung.
Oh wow.
So he wasn't going to survive that. Yeah. So here I was already accusing Lori Vallow in my head. The bitch killed him. Like
Right.
he knew too much. So I stand corrected.
I don't know. I still, maybe
I
she
just
still
wanted to
did.
share that. Yeah. So
I,
at least that's the official report.
yeah. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. And I'm sure maybe we'll do a quick follow up in the coming months once it really starts to. But I felt bad basically because I was like, here I was blaming Lori for killing him. Somehow she got to him. Like,
Well, I still think that the reason why it's not caught on because there's no court. There's no courtrooms, there's no television in the courtrooms, there's no 500 media people outside the courtrooms. You know what I'm saying? Like all that's not going on right now. If it
yeah.
was, then this story would be like headline news every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But stay tuned.
Stay tuned. So on this episode, I wanted to do something more light. Since last one was a lot of information, I got some feedback of people who actually follow this that they loved the timeline and it was a lot of information.
It was great.
So I thought we would just to this week kind of chill, have a drink, answer a few questions. So what I did is I reached out to a few people that I know and asked them like to ask questions that you and I could answer over some cocktails or
Mm,
drinks, whatever your
nice.
drink of choice is.
Yes.
So I'm going to be having prosecco today, which is my like drink that's like my choice that I always go to.
Yeah.
What are you drinking?
I'm drinking ginger ale with Jim Beam Kentucky bourbon whiskey with a splash of honey.
Oh, wow.
So it's a little,
Are you like a bartender over there?
yeah. I'm like a mixologist over here.
Yeah,
No,
seriously.
it's just I love ginger ale. Like if I could drink it every day, I would. Because but I don't because it's soda and it's just sugary, not good for you. But I love how it mixes with bourbon, especially honey, because what it does is it's just very smooth.
Mm-hmm.
It's just easy to drink, go down, and it's when it's chilled. Like right now, these are a little bit warmer, so it's like just the perfect refresher.
Yeah. Yeah. So perfect. So if you don't mind, I'm gonna go ahead and pour myself some.
Of course.
Hear that sizzle? I
Hear the
love it.
sizzle, yeah.
So I'm going to cheers to you. I'm going to
Cheers.
have a drink. Cheers. Now, I went ahead and asked some people for some questions.
Yeah.
So, my friend Stephen Glasser asked, "What is the age you can remember being? Not your oldest memory, but just you remember being alive or a memory. Like, how old were you?"
Wow. You can go first?
I want you to go first.
Well, okay, this is a weird one. I remember being 3 years old, and one very specific memory is I broke my arm. My parents were both out working, and my uncle and my aunt, or also my godparents, were taking care of me. Anyways, I climbed the kitchen counter up the cupboards to get the cookie jar, and I fell and I broke my arm. And
Wow.
they had to take me to Children's Hospital. I'm 3 years old, right? And it's like, it's a night. My parents were, met me there and whatever. The craziest thing I remember is that they had to strap me down to, whatever I was lying in to get the X-rays because I would not sit still. And when they did, they left the technician, nurse or doctor left the room and left me alone. So I remember being 1,000% traumatized and crying, because it hurt, obviously, and because it was so cold and it was so dark, and they took the X-rays and they came back, and then eventually I got the cast on, and but that was it. That's like the weirdest thing, because I guess it was so traumatizing to me, and every time I see like those cold operating rooms, like in the hospital, it just instant flashback to that moment when I was 3 years old, broke my arm, and I was left alone in that room to take X-rays.
Wow. So you remember that you were 3.
Yeah, but that was it though. Like I don't have many other memories from that year.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't tell you, anything like what, but any other memory.
So after that you were 3, when is the next memory that at least you vaguely remember?
Probably like 7 or 8. When I
Mm.
when I when I started playing outside with kids and my other friends, and you know socializing, going to school together with my neighbors and my friends, walking to school together, that kind of stuff. My parents and my friends,
Mm-hmm.
we would all walk together as one huge bunch. So yeah, I would say about 7 years old or so.
Oh, not bad. Yeah.
How about yourself?
For me, I think I was like 4 or 5. I want to say maybe even 4. My dad used to have, remember those old school stereo systems? It was like the big speaker on both sides, and in the middle had like on the top was like the, oh Lord.
Was it like a turntable, cassette players and stuff, or
Yes,
yeah?
turntable, and then like a bunch of equalizer stuff, and
Yeah.
then like the tapes at the bottom,
Oh yeah,
and
like a whole rack or a whole rack mount of stuff. Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
he had like a huge one, and my dad
Nice.
used to love like playing music really loud, and I vaguely remember, I swear I must have been like 4, is just going looking for the people behind the stereo. And I have that memory that I was trying to find the people singing where the music was coming from. And I got in trouble because my dad was like, "Why are you behind the stereo?" Like,
You are alien after all. See, because only somebody from out of this world would do that.
no, in my mind, they were back there. They were playing
That's
music.
hilarious.
And I wanted to play with them, I guess.
And you were how old again? You were
I want to say I was like 4.
4. Wow, that's
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah. And then there was another memory that I have that was after that. Maybe I was like 5, but I was playing with the neighborhood kids, and I fell forward, and the girl before me, I fell on her heel as she was running.
Oh
And so
no.
my 2 front teeth gone.
Oh
I
no.
remember that. And I remember my mom washing me on the sink, like, oh, so I didn't have any. There's pictures of me as Snow White with like no front teeth, but it wasn't like of a natural cause. They just fell out. It was just because
All right.
I fell face forward and on the heel of another girl's
Oh
as
no.
she was running.
That's terrible.
Yeah. And I think the memory after that was when my brother came home. Oh, my little brother.
That's nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm going to go to the next
Yeah.
question. You ready?
Yes.
So this is from one of my childhood friends, Natalie Lopez.
Hello, Natalie.
Um, hello, Natalie. Say it again
Hello, Natalie.
so she can hear you. Yeah. This is for you, Natalie.
Yeah.
Um, so she basically said, I know you've covered the horror culture and UFOs, but do you believe in the paranormal? Do you believe in ghosts? Does your family believe in ghosts? Did you grow up to ghost stories? I guess this one's for me, to ghost stories from El Salvador. That's for me.
Nice, nice.
And if so, can you share one of them? So let's start with the first one. Do you believe in the paranormal, Leonie?
I do. I do. And, strangely enough, this question just came up on my podcast. Like, we just talked about this because we're doing this little bit where we ask each other personal questions, so that people
Mm-hmm.
can get to know us, kind of thing. So I just talked about this and I've never really talked about this before. So, I'm trying to remember the year. I guess the year would have been like 2004, I want to say, 2005. My dad was on hospice, so he was very sick, right? And, you know, the door was always open because the hospice nurses would come in late at night, early morning, during the day. They're always here. So he was in a room next to mine, okay? And it was just time to go to sleep. And for me, I don't go to sleep because I just had bad insomnia. So I just, would relax and plug in the guitar and play guitar until 3 in the morning, with headphones on, right? So one night I was doing that and I was standing there just playing guitar, plugged in the headphones, just enjoying, playing. And then something just fucking shoved me, right? Pushed me hard, like to the point where my reaction was I pulled off my headphones, I slammed them down, I turned around, and I was like, what? What? And I realized there's nobody in the room. In fact,
Wow.
my door's locked. And I mean, the hairs on my neck and just stood up, and I was just like, what the hell was that? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, this is not like a back spasm or like, oh, pinched nerve or anything. No, it's just like I felt somebody grab me and push me, shove me hard.
Yeah.
And, it was like, there's no reason for that. I was just kind of like startled. So I opened the door, I'm walking down the hall, I'm checking in on the other rooms. Everybody's asleep or. I was just like, man, that's weird. So now I'm going to fast forward, okay, to
Okay.
the night that it was pretty much the last week of my dad's life. It's the night where he fell unconscious. I think what happened is he had a heart attack. And during that moment, my mom's like, well, let's find the priest because we don't know what's going to happen. And, we're Catholic, so we, went to our local church and was trying to find a priest. So I'm knocking on doors. It's 11 p.m. Nobody's answering. And for the purpose of having them come over to perform last rites, the last ritual, last sacrament, before you die, right? Anyways, couldn't find them. So I call back home and I'm like, there's nobody here. I can't get hold of anybody. So they said, don't worry, we found a priest. He's coming over. I'm like, okay, cool. So a priest comes over from a local parish in a nearby neighborhood of Atwater, and related to like one of my cousins, for example, he goes to that church, so they knew him. So he comes over. I met him outside. He comes over. He dresses up for the occasion with the proper stole. I don't know if he wore a purple stole or not, or what it was, but he dressed up and then he does the the prayers, the ritual, and something interesting happened when he was done praying. Like my dad's heart rate just calmed. That went from super high, super heavy breathing, and it went completely calm. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, wow. Immediately after the prayer ended, like immediately. Okay. So that kind of like startled me, like, wow. And then my best friend had come over because, he just wanted a beer. And I'm like, okay. So then I walked up my best friend because he was leaving. And the priest was still here with my mom. Okay. And what I didn't know is that they had a conversation, and I found out about this conversation 10 years later, okay? And the conversation went like this. The priest looked at my mom and said, things are going to be okay now in this house. And my mom stopped and said, you mean with him? And he said, no, with this house. And she never, she was like, huh. She never questioned or anything. She's like, okay. So she tells me the story 10 years later, okay? And I'm like, Mom, was this place haunted? I'm like, what? I'm like, why would he say that? Because he came over for the prayers for him. You know what I'm saying? It's like they're very specific, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was just like, wow, like why you waited 10 years? Because she forgot about it. It was one of those things where you don't think about it. And then she tells me later, and I'm like, I wonder if this place was haunted by something.
Yeah.
And I wonder if the priest knew that. And I wonder if the priest blessed the house and the thing, entity, paranormal, whatever it was, is gone,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, ever since, there's nothing ever happened, except for that one incident that I had and, the thing that the priest said. But that's about it. But do I believe in it? Yeah, I believe in it. I can't explain it, but I believe in it. I haven't seen anything crazy, except for being pushed like that. Like I said, that really creeped me out. I mean, I couldn't sleep that night, but
yeah,
I mean, it's just, but I haven't seen anything. Like I've always wondered, is something going to move? Is something going to show up? Nothing. So I don't know. Maybe it's because of my faith, that I'm protected. Maybe things stay away, but I do believe that they're real, and I don't know what they are. Whether they're ghosts, entities, demonic, entities, or whatever it is, I believe they are real, and I don't know why they're here. But I do know that they attach to people sometimes, because people do meddle with things they shouldn't, like mirrors and Ouija boards and stuff like that. So they do happen.
Yeah, they do. I believe in the paranormal. As far as the question if my family believes in ghosts, I think it depends on the interpretation.
Right.
Some people might believe it's like a religious thing, right? The demons, and I don't see it that way.
Right.
But I can tell you my two experiences that I will never forget. I lived in an apartment growing up. This was like the second apartment our parents lived in.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sleeping on the sofa. And I just remember hearing like one or two voices just kind of, like when you're asleep, but I or trying to fall asleep, I felt it come from far, come over my ear, and then just kind of go. And there were voices. And I woke up and I was like, or got up. Because that's the thing that I can't figure out, was I awake or asleep?
Oh,
Do you know what I
damn.
mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck? Because I felt it and I heard them. It came from far
Right.
over my ear. And it was like, ah, I can't remember. They were saying something. And that's an experience that I was like, what? But I wasn't scared. But I was like, what the fuck was that? Because it felt real. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Wow.
But looking back, I'm not sure if I was dreaming it, but I'm almost certain that I didn't dream it because, I have vivid dreams sometimes. So it was not a dream. It was real. So that was that one experience I had. And then at my parents' house, I was, like when you close your eyes, and this is the only time I felt like, what the hell at that house. But again, I didn't feel scared. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I was lying down in my thoughts, right?
Right.
In my room. I was still living with my parents, and I felt something like if someone sat at the foot of the bed.
Huh.
And I was like, okay, what the fuck? So I opened my eyes and I'm like, there's nothing there. Like,
Oh, damn.
what the fuck? But I didn't feel scared. I just kind of was like, okay, it's whatever. Like I fell back to sleep and stuff. So
damn.
Those are the two times that I felt something that I felt like someone was there. But luckily I didn't freak out. And trust me, I can't see horror movies. So
yeah, I don't understand that. You're like, I'm not scared. And I'm like, well, come with me to see a horror movie then.
No, I won't do it. So I find that kind of odd now that I'm talking about it. Why was I not scared?
Wow, this is the first time I hear you talk about this. Crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. So I do believe in that. Definitely I'm going to have a talk with you about experiences in the hospice, what I see in hospice on an episode coming up. So if you don't mind,
yeah, no.
I feel like we can definitely, I'll tell you some of the stuff that I've seen.
Yeah.
And The other thing she asked is if I've heard any ghost stories from El Salvador, and I have not. So my homework is to ask maybe my cousins out there, like, share a story with me.
I'm actually curious myself if you know or anybody in that culture from El Salvador, for example, of any local lore or legends. For example, in Mexico we have La Llorona, and
Yeah,
some
yeah.
variations of that story have gone to Central America and South America as well. Even Europe. But I'm wondering if there's
Mm-hmm.
any specific, because also in Mexico, I believe there's another one called what is it? El Cucuy. It's
El Cucuy.
like a demon.
Yeah.
And not the radio DJ, not that weirdo. No, no, like an actual real person, like a demon.
I forgot about El Cucuy, the radio DJ, until you
Right?
said that.
Más éxitos que el Cucuy, 105.7. It's like no, not
Oh,
that guy,
Lord.
not that guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's I don't know too much about it, but they would always scare you as a kid. Cucuy's gonna come get you. I'm like, what the fuck is that? I was like, but yeah, it's some kind of demon. And I don't even know. It might even go back to Aztec or Mayan times. I'm not even sure. But I'm always interested
Mm-hmm.
in other people's cultures, and when it comes to the legends and lore. So if you have that, Mary, you gotta fess up. You gotta tell me.
Yeah, I'm going to find out. I'm definitely going to find out. So I'm going to have to ask. But unfortunately, as of now, my parents never shared that with me. I'm sure they know some kind of stories, but they never shared any with me.
Nice.
Um,
Before we move on, you believe in ghosts? You believe in ghosts?
yes. Yes, I do. Yeah. And we're
Crazy.
going to leave it at that because I don't want to summon shit. Like,
I don't know. I do. I want to send it your way and see what happens.
hell no. Hell
Just
no.
record it.
And I know.
Put it on YouTube.
We're moving on to the next.
Right.
So my friend Edward Chinchilla,
What's up, Bedward?
yeah. His question was, are you able to tell what kind of person is personality wise depending on what someone orders to drink? Like an old fashioned, Jack and Coke, beer. So I guess can we judge their personality types based on the drinks they order?
Wow, that's a really good question. And I almost want to laugh at that a little, because it's like, um, I guess for me, it's like, what does it mean, right? It's like you order Jack and Coke. What does that mean, right? Versus somebody who orders
Mm-hmm.
vodka straight, or mezcal, for example, or somebody who says, oh, I need, give me a zombie or something. It's like, I don't know, like, how do you classify people, or say like, oh, that's a man's drink, that's a lady's drink, that's a classy drink, that's a psycho's drink, that's a weirdo's
Oh,
drink, like,
I have an opinion. So you know that oh my, people would call it that adios drink,
adios,
the
motherfucker. Yeah,
blue drink.
yes,
Oh, I remember me and my girlfriends went to a club in San Diego, and there was like these guys with the blue drink, and I told my girlfriends who were single, I was like, girls, never date a fucking guy who has that blue drink. They're cheap as fuck because they're trying to get fucked up quick
right,
for cheap. I was
yeah,
like, no.
that's funny.
And if anyone out there, I apologize if anyone that's their drink of choice. I'm sorry.
Everybody's like, I'm gonna tune out. This girl's fucking crazy.
This bitch, get her out of
This
my
bitch,
speakers.
get her off my speakers.
But I can tell you that I did. That was one thing that I told my girlfriends, and they would always remind me, do you remember when you said, like, if someone has a blue drink, steer clear? I was like, yes. And I stand by that to this day.
It's funny. You know what this question made me think of? Did you ever see the movie Fight Club?
I have not. Oh my God.
God, you're killing me.
I have not seen anything you've suggested, and I
my God.
apologize.
So there's a scene. I'll tell you real quickly. There's a scene with Ed Norton and Brad Pitt. They go on a like a spree of fighting and stuff in the streets, and then they jump on a bus, right, like LA City bus, whatever it is, and they're in the bus and they're just talking, and then mind you, they're both beat up, right, like bleeding and stuff, and Ed Norton looks up at this little advertisement, right, of a guy with the shirt off wearing jeans. It was like for some Guess jeans ad, on the top of the bus, and he looks at it, and he looks at Brad Pitt, and he goes, "Hey, is that what a real man looks like?" And he laughs,
Mm-hmm.
But the inside joke is that was Brad Pitt in his modeling career. That was him, actually.
Oh, wow.
But I was thinking about that because it's like, is that a man's drink? It's
Yeah.
like, or it's like, I don't know, because look, one of my best friends, he's the nicest guy. the coolest guy. He's a ladies' man. He's, well off. He does well in his career and all that. He orders the girliest fucking drinks everywhere we go. Like something's gonna show up bright pink, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, I don't know what he thinks it's funny, and he gets off on that. He's like, not to be sexist about the drinks or anything, and not to stereotype, but it's like, here's, everybody's drinking, whiskey on the rocks, whatever, right? And here shows up this fucking pink thing, right? In a huge martini glass, or purple or something, and he always makes fun of himself. He goes, yeah, I always order the girliest drinks everywhere, because I don't know, I guess he likes them, whatever, but yeah. So I always, it's funny that this question made me think of that, because it's like, I don't even know what that means,
Don't knock it till you try it, Leon.
Yeah, I guess. bunch of sugar and alcohol.
I stand in solidarity with your friend. Yeah. Well, I mean, what would you say? I love drinking Prosecco. I drink beers and, different types of alcohol, but my drink of choice is Prosecco. Like, would you have known that? That was my thing?
It could be a good guess. But once again, I'm stereotyping, a little bit here, because a lot of ladies I know like to drink that stuff, It's like the drink of, it's kind of like the Sex and the City drink, like of today, Yeah. So it's kind of like, if you told me a bunch of women, I'm like, yeah, 60-70% of them drink Prosecco, But once again, I'm stereotyping here, but it just seems to be the thing right now, And and if we were in Italy, it would be like something related, either Prosecco, if not, it'd be some Spritz, something very very close to it,
I tried Spritz when I was in, I went to Rome, or was it Venice? I want to say Venice, and I was like, eh. But, Prosecco is sparkling wine from Italy, so
yeah.
My goal is to have Prosecco next time I go to Italy, in Italy.
Nice. Take me with you.
Oh, do you speak Italian?
Yes, I do.
Oh my God. I know you must have told me this before, and I apologize.
I'll be a tour guide. You, Mary, come with me. Maria, come with me. I'll take you places. I'll take you to the mountain, to the Colosseum, to the Vatican, to the snow. When you go to the beach, you go to the boat too,
Oh my God.
That was a bad impersonation.
Did I tell you that I'm a Laura Pausini fan, but I've listened to her music in Spanish?
Mm-hmm.
And so we were in Venice, and we were at a coffee shop. I'm not sure where we were, but Laura Pausini, I recognized her voice, but it was in Italian. And I was like super excited. I was like, oh my God, do you hear that? That's Laura Pausini. And oh my God, I'm listening to her in Italian in Italy, and they were just looking at me like, okay, you're crazy. Like,
right. That's so funny.
Yeah. So his second question is, what would you do in a situation in which someone tries to buy you a drink? What have you done, Leonie, when someone offers you to buy you a drink?
Well, he looked at my eyes and I said, yeah, buddy, I'm not your type. I'm just kidding.
Has anyone ever offered and bought you one?
Yeah, a few times. Yeah, definitely. I was flattered. I was just like, wow, that's really nice of you. Like, just strike up conversation, and, I've got accepted, of course, because I'm not one to have like 20 drinks at the bar, so it's like, I usually go with the intention of knowing that I'm going to drive home, so it's like, okay, I'm going to have one or two, and then I'm going to wait it out and maybe eat something after, and then, drive home. Responsible, be responsible, but,
yeah.
It's like, yeah, if there was those few times that they were, offered, it was good. It was fun. It was just,
offered
one of those
by
things,
women or men?
Women.
Oh.
Women, yeah.
Ballsy.
It's, hey, it's just one of those things where, you're in a place and it happens, it's just, not that, there were any super strict intentions on any behalf or anything was going to happen or anything, but in terms of just striking up a conversation, it was, it was a good time. It's a good icebreaker. I'm always wary about doing it to a woman, because I feel like that's kind of like the move that's just overly done.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like if I was in Nebraska somewhere, like, it would work, but in LA, people would be like, fuck off, So, so it's like, I of course, if I'm meeting somebody there, or I know who's with me, or, or if I do meet somebody there, go with somebody there, then yeah, of course I'm going to buy them drinks, but it's like, in terms of, a stranger, like, hey, that girl over there, it's like, I don't know if that's a thing. I don't know if that works.
Yeah. I have, with my girlfriends had people buy us drinks, but what me and my girlfriends have done have if they have bought us drinks is we'll go to the bar with them and we got that eye on that drink.
Of course.
And then, so I have had that. There's a funny story. I was at a restaurant in Ventura Boulevard with some friends we had the waitress come up to us and she said, she had her tray with a bunch of cups. And she's like, the guy over there is sending these cups over to you guys. But it was basically cups of water.
You're like, yo, a bunch of lushes. Here's a bunch of cups of water. Get the fuck out.
We thought it was so funny and clever because he didn't have to pay for any of them. And he sent us cups of water to our table.
That's pretty funny.
That was funny. I'll never forget that. I remember that.
and you know what? If I was like clean and sober or something, like if I had to like pull that move and show up at a bar, I would probably do that as a joke. Like,
yeah,
like if I had to send drinks to somebody, that would be like a funny icebreaker.
Yeah, it was a really funny icebreaker because all of us laughed when we realized he literally sent us free cups of water from the waitress. Slick. Yep. And then his third question is, have you ever covered your drink with your hand to prevent possible tampering, of a drug being inserted to, not ugh. You know what I'm saying? I can speak for myself. If I've ever been at a club when I was younger, I would always hold, do you know, like I would put my palm over the top of the drink.
Yes.
Always. Like that's how I would hold it. Cause at that point, no one can put anything in there.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know anyone per se that has had that happen to, but I know that it can be prevalent.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So, I'm kind of like a warrior. So I would always hold my cup that way where my palm would be on the top, even when I was dancing. That way there's no way anyone can slip anything into it.
Yeah.
So how about yourself? Anyone want to try to slip anything into your drink?
No, well, yeah, I'll tell you. Okay, first of all, I trust no one, okay? Especially at a bar, and luckily it's never happened to me, and I've never seen it happen to anyone else. Because if I were to see it happen to anyone, I'd fucking break that situation up so quick. I don't care who they are, like that shit's not right, and I'll tell you that. Of course, I'm not going to say where I used to work, but where I used to work, and we used to have a lot of crazy parties, and we had one aboard the Queen Mary one night for Halloween, and we had like 600 people there and stuff. It was a wild Halloween, costume party. Anyways, 4 of my friends who I worked with, my coworkers, got roofied. Okay. 4. Okay. 1 girl and 3 guys, and it just so happened that it was the reason why it was the guys. Because whoever roofied their drinks were intended for girls. And then anyways, the guys ended up with the drinks. They took them. They got sick. Okay. One of them ended up at Long Beach Memorial Hospital with tubes in him and shit. And he woke up at 10 a.m. and had no idea where he was. He's trying to walk out into the street with tubes in him and shit. And they were like, where are you going? They're like, where are you going? He had no recollection memory of what happened. He was scared,
That's crazy.
Yeah. And then a couple other times, one girl that I knew that I used to work with, she got it from a bartender in Hollywood.
Wow.
Like actually just straight out from the bartender. And I'm like, holy shit, And it scares me to no end, but I'm like, who's doing that? It's like who's got the balls to, it's like, what's the point? Like to get to get a girl to pass out, what are you gonna do? Carry her out of the club? Like, what's your intention, Like,
yeah.
Obviously the intention is sex, right? Or rape or something, right? But what the fuck, it's like, but yeah, after those times, it scared me. I was always careful. I don't like if people hand me a drink that's open, I don't like that. I'd rather crack the seal myself, or open the can myself, whatever. And if it's poured, I'm trusting the bartender that's pouring it, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I don't like, hey, try this here, it's like, I don't do that. And like, no, thanks. I don't share drinks unless I'm dating the girl, or I trust the girl, So but yeah, I don't know. That bothers me so much, It's like
Yeah.
if I were to ever see that like from a distance, I'd go over there and knock that drink out of the fucking people's hands. I'd be like, and that's just it's scary. It's like you know crazy,
And
crazy,
did you
crazy.
see the J-Lo movie last year where the women were drugging men to get money out of them?
I didn't see it, but I heard it was really good. I heard she was really good in it.
Yeah, but still, let's not deflect from what I was saying.
I'm
The
not.
fact that women are drugging men to get money and credit card transactions.
Yeah, I mean that story is probably older than we even realize because I'm sure a lot of those incidents happen in Vegas, for example,
Oh, Vegas,
where
such a bore. By the way, I love my cousin in Vegas. I love her, but I'm just over Vegas. But I will go to Vegas just to visit my cousin because I love her. Okay, that's the Prosecco talking. I'm not making any sense at this point.
but but yeah, it's like it's Vegas is obviously running loaded, rampant with prostitution, so it's like
And drugs and
yeah,
alcohol and
yeah, but it's like
free balling.
you meet a girl and it's like some of these are high class prostitutes, and I you know what I actually knew
Escorts, my
yeah,
friend.
yes,
Escorts.
yeah, whatever, same word, right? But
There's a difference. No, there's a difference.
no, of course, no, there is a difference. You're right, there is a difference because the one I knew, like my jaw dropped when she told me what she did. I was like, because long story short, she came from Vegas for a photo shoot. Okay, so my friend and I and our whole team photographed her. Okay, stunning woman. Okay, stunning. And then on the way back to Vegas, I was dropping her off at the airport, and then I'm like, hey, so what do she told me what she did, and I'm like, holy shit, I'm like, and then let's just say that the photo shoot cost $1,000. Okay, and she just dropped 10,000.
Dropped.
She dropped 10,000, and her words exactly were, just make me look pretty. Like she gave us 10
Yeah.
times the amount of money, okay, at that time. And I'm like, what, is this girl wealthy? Like who? We were trying to figure out who she was. And then when she told me on the way back to the airport, I was like, oh, she services, wealthy men.
Yeah.
But
It's
damn.
funny because my cousin and my best friends got me on TikTok. And so I have a TikTok account, but I
Nice.
don't post any videos. I just watch videos.
Yet.
And I've seen like two or three where women, because of quarantine and COVID,
Right.
women are like, "What? An escort or, a stripper can make 250 grand a year?" And then you see them trying to attempt to like, be all sexy and stuff and
Right.
they don't look all that appealing, but I just thought it was funny. I was like, yeah, people are like, they make good money. They make good money. So $10,000 is nothing for her to look pretty because she's probably making a shitload of money.
Yeah. And you know what's crazy? You don't even have to have sex anymore to make the kind of money. A friend of mine, I could, I'll show it to you because he showed me a screenshot. Okay, there's this, the service that every girl and guy is using now. It's called OnlyFans. Have you heard of that?
No.
OnlyFans is like one of those accounts where you pay somebody money. Like maybe they charge $3 a month, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you subscribe, you pay $3 a month for this one girl. Okay, so for that $3 a month, you get videos from her. You get you get little photos, stuff like that, So you can imagine where this is going, right? Obviously, this is like, hey, here's me topless, hey, here's a striptease, here's me having fun, here's me masturbating, like whatever they want to do, they can do anything they want, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he showed me a screenshot, okay, that came from one of the girls he knew. For the month of April, this girl made $49,000 for 1 month. Can you believe that?
What was she doing?
I don't know. But I can only imagine there had to have been nudity there, right?
I'm going to tell you a funny story that I don't think I told any of my friends. I was 18 years, okay. So you know that people do have fetishes out there.
Right, right.
So I think I have cute feet.
Yeah, you do. You definitely do.
I had sandals on and, I was at work. I worked at American Apparel, their office here in downtown LA.
Nice.
And this guy came in and he's like, you have really really pretty toes. I'll pay you $100 if you let me take a picture up close, he said.
Wow.
And I was 18 and I was like, ew, no.
You were like, I went shopping after.
No, my 36-year-old self now would be like, go ahead, take as many angles as you want.
Right.
But I charge per angle.
Per angle, yeah. $100 per angle.
$100 per angle.
Yeah, definitely.
That was naive me at 18. I was like, oh, I was offended. Even though deep down I was like, yeah, my feet are cute. You know, like,
Yeah.
but I think now I would be like, sure, let's do it.
Right. No, but isn't it weird that when you're that young that you don't understand the full spectrum of fetishes, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
So,
you know, like if somebody told you that, you're like, that's some weird shit, right? But then now you're like, oh, people are into a lot of weird shit, right? Like,
yeah.
they'll sexualize anything, right? The guy's probably thinking like, I want to dip her toes into honey and suck on them, you know, or something, you know. And Mary's like, fuck, that's weird, you know. Now you're thinking back, you're like, dude, do whatever you want. Just pay
there
me.
was a picture I had on Instagram where I had like my feet up in, I think I was in Cabo, Mexico,
Mm-hmm.
and it was tagged, like it was re-Instagrammed or whatever you call it. This was years ago
Right.
in another profile, and they tagged me, and I was like, what is this? So I went on the profile, and it was just a bunch of pictures of different feet, and apparently my feet made the cut. Like,
Oh, shit.
yes.
Wow.
I was like, wow. Even though I know there are people who like feet. You know what? Stay tuned for Instagram. My next week, I'm going to post my feet. And I'm just kidding.
She's about to break Instagram.
Ow. Okay. Should I stop drinking or should I keep
Nope.
going?
Keep
What do you
going.
say?
Keep going.
Keep going?
Yeah. Just drink from the bottle.
Just drink from the...
Yeah. It's quicker.
No, I might have some of my tias listening, so I got to drink from the nice
Yeah, right.
glass.
That's funny.
Yeah. So, the next question I have is from my friend Janet.
Hello, Janet.
She asks, if you had to choose between any of your exes, meaning you had to live with them forever and marry them because there was no one else in the world, who would you settle down with?
Oh, damn, that's a hard one. Well, shit.
If your exes were the only people you could settle down with, who would it be?
Which one of my exes?
You don't have to say their names. You can say the number.
Well, the number. No, here's the thing. Wow, I don't know how to answer that.
That's a tough one, right?
Well, it's tough for me for only one very specific reason, and it's gonna suck when I tell you why. Because she passed away.
Oh,
So if she was still alive, like I would probably be married to her right now. Probably.
oh,
You
you
know,
need a hug.
I do.
You're 20 something miles away, so
I'm
I
gonna-
can't.
It's okay.
Virtual hug.
I'm gonna put this on pause.
Everybody stop and let's hug Leonie. Hug.
And we're back. No. No, seriously, like, I mean, no, it's just that this person, she was really, you know, we were young, yes, but she was great. And we understood each other very well. Like, you know, I think that had she been alive and, you know, to where we'd be at the same age right now, I think that we would still be super compatible because we had, we grew up fast. We were young. We were pre-med students, you know, and it's just that we had a lot in common, a lot of good things, you know. And when we didn't agree, like, you know, we had amicable, you know, disagreements and fights. Like, you know, we never like, it was like no name calling, you know, like, oh, fuck you, get the fuck out. And it was none of that. It was, you know, it was more like, you know, so maybe heated conversations, but it was like, we always knew that the importance of, hey, let's talk it out, you know, like what's wrong? Like, how can we fix this? You know, like, you know, do I need to be more patient or change? Do you know, how can we meet in common, you know, we always found the common ground, you know, so we always found a great way to solve it. And we never truly had, you know, issues where, you know, it was like, okay, well, I hate her and she hates me, you know. It's like, no, you know, things were good. So if I had to pick, I would say it was her. But yeah, unfortunately that's not going to happen. But I'm grateful for the time I had with her, you know.
No. Yeah.
But how about yourself?
Yeah. Well, if I had to choose between my 3 exes, I would choose the last one.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
call him up right now. He's not doing anything.
I think he's drinking with his friends right now. No, I can't divulge his secret.
What to say?
Damn Prosecco. No,
He's got a
I'll
secret.
tell you after.
Okay. That's funny.
Now my friend Mary Cabral, who is also my coworker,
Nice.
she wants to know, how old were you when you lost your virginity, Leonie?
Oh, wow. I was 18 years old. It was like it was very American Pie-ish for me. If
Yeah, was there a pie involved?
no, no, not at all. No, but in the sense that it was more like, you know, you hit 15, 16 years old and there's that pressure, right? For guys, it's like, oh, dude, whatever, there's that girl, she likes you, whatever, and as a guy at that age, you're, raging hormones, right? Of course we want it. Fuck, But it wasn't until senior year of high school, and yeah, it was good, but it's just first times are weird,
Yeah. Yeah, you didn't know what you were doing, right?
No, I knew what I was doing.
Did you?
It's yeah.
You knew what you were doing, but you weren't sure what you were gonna feel.
No, I knew what I was gonna feel. Because it's like I mean, at the time, come on, there's magazines and videos going around, right? So of course you know what you're gonna do. And are you good at it at that age? No, you're not. But here's the thing, though. At that age, it's just one of those things where it happened and then it's over. After X amount of time, whatever it was, and then
No, we want to know X amount of time. Was it over in a minute or what?
No, it was long. It was unfortunately long.
It was long.
Yeah, for the wrong reasons though, because it's we can flash back to today, right, where we can look back at ourselves and look at what we learned, and we realize when you're with a woman from a guy's perspective, right, like every woman's different, right? Every woman has their thing. Like some women like this, some hate that. Some have issues. Some have mental blocks. Some can't get in the mood. Some can't perform. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
until you get to know that woman and what gets them to that point, what gets them going, it's kind of pointless to think that, well, look at me, I'm ready to go. Come on, let's just do it right now, really quick. And it's just like, cool, because if I can get off and then I'll be done. And then it's like, well, the girl, it was kind of like, well, I don't, I'm not, no, I can't do that. I'm not ready. I don't, I don't feel anything. So I think it was one of those moments where we did it, and I thought it was good for her, and it wasn't. But I think it's because to her, it was more like she just wanted to go through with it and do it. But I don't think she felt any pleasure from, what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like she wasn't there mentally.
Gotcha.
Because we talked about it years later, and then we laugh about it now, but it's kind of like, because we're young and dumb, right? We just want to do it, and then it's like, well, what's the point? Because I mean, the point of doing it now today, when you're an adult and you realize, people have needs, right, and desires and fantasies and special things like that get them in the mood and get them off. It's like that's what you want to like learn from your partner, right? But then here you have somebody who you know nothing about, and you assume that everything you saw in a magazine or a movie is exactly what needs to happen and it's going to work out perfect, and it doesn't. It doesn't, because then you realize, she was too young. Even though she wanted to, she was too young, and she wasn't ready for that moment.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's why it's like, it's hard. It's hard at that age.
So I want to say so I met my first love when I was 17, about to turn 18, like literally on the door of turning
Nice.
18.
Nice.
So I want to say I was 17 or 18 when I lost it. And
Well,
I what I tell my girlfriends was that I was like a starfish. I just kind of laid there. That was my
because you wanted to, or because you're like, just get it over with.
I think so. Just get it over with. But it was more so because I didn't know myself in that department. Do you get what I'm saying?
See,
it's kind of like what you were saying.
Yeah, that's the thing.
When you're ready, and this goes for you, Leonie, and for all the men out there. If you want to have good sex, like literally, and you like a girl, the girl that you like, the girl that you think is hot, she might not be a sex goddess
Right.
yet,
Right.
right?
Right.
You need to get on her level mentally. Like if you tap into that woman's mind
Right.
in that department, she will be a sex goddess.
Yeah. I couldn't agree with
Now,
you more.
again, this is the Prosecco talking, so and I think that's one thing that like I think people don't understand is that yes, men you can do the process, right? And get off and do stuff. Women can too, but women want to feel comfortable.
Of course.
And so it wasn't that I wasn't comfortable. I think I was just doing it because I felt like that's what it was.
Yeah. But like I say, it's like, for a guy, sex is like pizza. Even when it's really, really bad, it's still pretty good. Because
I've never heard that before.
there you go. There's some wisdom
But
for you.
fuck, it makes so much sense.
Think about it. Think about it. Some wisdom for some Italian wisdom for you there. But it's true. It's true because it's like, look, us guys physically, physiologically, we are wired to just fucking get off so easily and it feels so good, right? And then end the story. I don't care who you are, what you are, it's like, hey, it felt good. Thank you. For a woman, that's not going to happen ever.
No. And this is the thing. Women you need to give women credit because women are probably freakier. If you tap into that door, they're probably freakier than men are.
Oh, I'm
but
sure.
men don't know how to handle
Right,
that door.
Right.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyways, all I'm getting at is connect with the woman, make her feel comfortable, put some effort into her mental visuals of sex.
Right.
And she will be a fucking goddess.
Yeah.
And you will thank me later.
Yeah.
Mic drop.
100% agree with you. 100% right there. From experience, I can tell you 100% agree with you. And just, to add a little note to that, realize that no two women are identical.
That's correct.
Some are freaks in the bed and, some are not. And some, have a different form of mental stimulation that they need, and it could be anything, it could be something so random, so simple. It could be something more complex, but that's the whole point. Get to know your partner, and
you touch on a good thing is that some people might be good at it, but maybe as far as like having intellectual conversations, you're not feeling them. That's okay. So let's say you have somebody there who you want to deal with, you are on the same mental level with.
Right.
Make them feel comfortable in their skin and their sexuality. Like, make them feel like, hey, you know what? Like, make them feel comfortable. And I think that's where some guys go wrong, where they're just like, whatever that is. But no, slow the fuck down. Meet me at my level.
Yep.
Because then after that, they're going to be like, oh, I don't want to do it anymore. And the woman's going to be like, what do you mean you don't want to do it anymore?
Right.
I'm ready to go.
Right.
No, I'm just kidding.
Right.
So my brother, let's change the subject to my brother.
Right. Hello, brother.
Hey. My brother is a musician.
Nice.
And he wants to know what song recommendations do we have for people?
Song recommendations. Wow. I mean, that's such a difficult question. But I'll tell you what, look, I'm rock and roll at heart, I'm not one for pop music, although, these big names here and there like Ariana Grande and Taylor Swift, I know what they do, all that. But, what's that song, Blinding Lights by The Weeknd? It's pretty good song. Pretty good song.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I love The Weeknd.
Yeah.
The Weeknd. If I could have a weekend with The Weeknd.
If I can have a sexual weekend with The Weeknd.
No, I don't even want to have sex with him.
Yet.
I just want to hear him sing to me while I go to sleep.
No, but think about that song, Blinding Lights. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine actually about a week ago. You know what that song reminds me of? That's because that song has '80s synth, that kind of reminds you of the Aha, Take on Me. There's like a little, it's
Yeah.
almost a sample from it, almost, but not quite. But it reminds me of the '80s, right? And the
Oh my
'80s,
God, me too.
the '80s reminds me of that first crush, that first girl
Oh,
that I had a crush on that I wanted to talk to and I wanted to send notes to, but I was too shy, Like that's what that reminds me of. Even though the song is not an '80s song at all, but it's a happy, dancey party vibe, song.
yeah.
So I'm like, that's a good
It's funny
one.
that you say that because that exact song, when it came out, I think that was the first song he released prior to his album release.
Right. Yeah, it was the first single.
Yes. I basically posted the song on my Instagram stories with literally what you just said is that it was giving me 80s vibes and I found a gif that was like 80s vibes dancing moves, like dance moves.
Nice. Yeah.
Seriously, love that guy. Love that guy. 100% agree with you on that.
And you know what I'm finding now, that it's hard for me to pull out songs at random because there's just so much good stuff out there in every genre. But I will say this: I've had to I've had to step away from music for a little while here because I've been so busy with other things, right? Because I have to keep track of different podcasts and stuff, that I've not been listening to music, right? And then especially the mainstream stuff, like the stuff you would hear
Mm-hmm.
5 times an hour on the radio, like I'm like, okay, I'm gonna shut all that off. And then if you come back to it later, like months later, and just start listening to random songs, you're like, fuck, that's a good song,
Yeah.
You're like, oh, that's a great song, like what happened, there's just so much out there that if you keep listening to on repeat over and over and over, you kind of get sick of it, right? And then if you get sick of it, it's not that you hate it, but then you just want to turn it off and not listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
But when you come back to it later, you're like, oh, that's a great song. And like, what happened to that? For example, sadly, the singer of Fountains of Wayne died from COVID. Actually, I think he was 50.
What?
Yeah, he died because he was one of the first deaths that were reported. Like it was right after like Tom Hanks came out, and all that. It was reported that he died. Adam Schlesinger. And if you don't know this, did you ever see the movie That Thing You Do with Tom Hanks?
No, I didn't.
Oh my God, Mary. Anyways, that super popular song, That Thing You Do, that's him. That's him singing the song. He wrote that song.
Wow.
So they were famous on the
Oh.
radio for alternative rock because they had a hit song called Radiation Vibe back in the 90s. They also had another hit song in the 2000s called Stacy's Mom.
Oh, I've heard of
Yeah,
that.
Stacy's Mom's Got It Going On. Yeah, that's him. And he died of COVID. That's crazy. But I listened to their music and I'm like, shit, that music puts me in a good mood because it reminds me of the 90s now.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
now the thing you do always pops up on TV, and it's a great story, based in the '60s of a band from a small town that made it big, but they made
Yeah.
it big so quickly that they ultimately broke up, But it's a
Oh,
it's a fun movie, but the songs were sung by him and he wrote them, so I was like, yeah, and that reminds me of how good their music was. So it just goes to show you that if you put a pause sometime and on some of the music you listen to and come back to it later, you're like, hey, this is fresh.
yeah. It's funny that you say that because last night I was having like a happy hour Zoom party with my friends and we were
Nice.
talking about being buzzed or,
Right.
just being in that groove.
Right.
And we were talking about listening to Pink Floyd when you're
Mm.
buzzed.
Yeah.
That does not age. Like they were software engineers. I don't know what the hell they were doing in the 70s, but
Right.
that shit sounds legit right
Yep.
now.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
mean, oh my God, we're in what, 2020?
2020. Yeah.
Um, but if I were to recommend anybody any new music, I would be recommending Black Puma's album,
Oh yes.
called The Black Pumas. I'm obsessed with that album. Like, I'm like yourself, a rocker chick. Like, I dig rock music. Um, by the way, I was looking at my stats from Spotify, and you see a lot of artists, and then one of the followers and listeners listen to certain artists,
Right.
and Tool came up, and I thought that was like awesome. I was like, yes, yes.
Nice.
Anyways, But if you guys want to listen to soul, R&B, kind of like jazz, rock music, the Black Pumas are the shit. Like,
Yeah.
listen to that album. When an album makes love to my soul, it's very rare. And I'm telling you this from the heart. When I listen to this album, like, you know, you have albums through your lifetime that just speak to your soul. And
right.
I like to say, make love to your soul.
Yeah.
I haven't had one in the last few years. And when I listened to the Black Pumas album, I was like, who the fuck are these motherfuckers? Because they just made love to my soul, and I'm fucking digging it.
Yeah.
So if you have not listened to them, listen to them because woo.
you know, I had a similar effect like that, and it was a few years back, and that was by this guy named Leon Bridges. And
Bridges.
Yeah, I talked to you about that one night. We were having a discussion about music. I told you about him, and you got to check out his music. He, the first time I heard his songs, man, I thought, I mean, we're talking like almost doo-woppy, you know, Motown, like the good stuff, you know, like none of this computer stuff, like the good stuff. Like the guy plays guitar and he sings and he has a band and all that, you know. He's got that baby making music for sure. And I was like, man, who is this guy? When I first heard it, I was like, who is this? Seriously, who is this guy? And, you know, he's just a kid who apparently was like washing dishes somewhere in, I don't know if it was San Antonio or Austin, Texas, one of those cities in Texas. And he would always, you know, do free performances. You know, he'd be the opening act, right? And now he's like a big name, you know. But yeah, definitely for that genre of music, check him out, Leon Bridges. For something heavier, for something more in the metal realm, there's a band that I loved forever, and I had the privilege of meeting them and talking with them. They're an Italian rock band, and with a female singer, and they're called Lacuna Coil. So I recommend them. Great rock music, heavy. Think of like Evanescence, but without the, you know, like without the silly poppiness that they are. Like this song is like, this band was doing Evanescence before Evanescence was even a thing, you know.
Really?
Yeah, they've been around for a long time. They've been around since the early 90s.
You're gonna have to send me a link.
Yeah, good stuff. And the lead singer, you know, I had a privilege of talking with her recently. So much fun, so nice, so much fun. Just got a really cool introspective into the band, because I met them once in radio years ago, and then now, you know, I met her again, but over the phone. And the album's so great. The album's called Black Anima, and I guess it just came out a couple of months ago, recently, not that long ago. But that's for rock. Check that out.
Yeah, totally check it out, and I'm gonna check it out. And please check out the Black Pumas.
Yes,
they fucking rock.
Yes,
they rock.
Yeah.
So what did you think of these questions? Did you enjoy it, having cocktails and questions?
Yeah, it's good stuff, man. I love when people like have something to ask, something insightful, you know, about you, about the show, about what you're doing, just general life questions. Because how often do we get to answer these things, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you told me some stories, and I told you some stories where we've probably never spoken about this ever before, you know, or very, you know, few times, if ever, you know. So it's fun when somebody asks and you're like, oh yeah, I got a story, you know, I got a moment, you know.
Yes. I definitely enjoyed this, and I think I'm gonna do this a quarterly thing or something where we just have cocktails and just answer random questions. What do you think?
Definitely, you got to call it AMA, Ask Mary Anything.
Ooh, let me write that down because I will forget.
That's funny.
So, you down to do this with me next weekend?
Of course. Same bat channel, same bat time. I'll be here.
That's right. And so thank you everyone for joining us if you made it this far. And please feel free to join us next weekend.
Yes.
So, sayonara.
Sayonara.
Bye.
Bye.
That was episode 9 of the Purposely Curious podcast. Make sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and follow us on social media at Purposely Curious on Instagram and at Purposely C Pod on Twitter. That's Purposely, the letter C, Pod, Until next time, you know what to do.